Hi, welcome everybody. This live will last about 30 minutes and we're going to talk about the launch of the book Shift the Field. Our special guest is an American business coach, author, and speaker. If you want to find out about our next lives, I'm going to put the link there. Most of them are in Spanish, but I have some in English. The content, however, mostly is in Spanish. I want to tell you that my company, Excede tu Potencial, has the purpose of helping companies refocus positively their levels of stress so they can improve their productivity, relationship, and results. And as a transformational coach, I also help stressful professionals to release their inner mental jail built throughout life so they can find the balance and fulfillment they're looking for. So, I want to introduce you to my a coach, friend, and a colleague, Darla LeDoux. She's a transformational business coach, recovery engineer, author of Shift the Field, and founder of Source. Source helps service-based entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, creatives, healers, and therapists to confidently market, sell, and deliver deep transformation while being guided by a uniquely sourced mission. After following the formulas of other experts for years, all while downplaying her unique magic, Darla committed to doing business differently. She reclaimed her inner knowing, source connection, and created a soul led business that feels divinely right without suffering or struggle. She envisions a world in which all people have access and live by their inner knowing, making it valid, value, and visible in their most magical work. So, Darla, it's a pleasure to have you here today. If you can share with the audience some words today, please.
I could share a lot of words. One of the things I was thinking about, Stephanie, is how, the connection that you and I have, both coming from the corporate world, having worked at Procter and Gamble, and having, worked really hard to achieve the career that's like the gold star,
Gold
like
star.
I'm going to work to prove I'm smart, to prove I'm worthy, to prove I can have this good job, to be successful in life in, I want to say in the traditional sense, because we're both kind of on the cutting edge of what's new in doing life. But it's based on default energy. So for me, my default was look smart, right? Like I had a whole energetic pattern around looking smart because I had received the message when I was young that if I was smart, my dad would come. If I was smart, my dad loved me. And so he never said that, right? But in my little kid mind, that was the thing that he was proud of about me. And because he didn't show up a lot, when he did, I made that connection. Like, okay, if I'm smart, he shows up. And so that just became a part of my identity. And that's really what the book is about. And I'll hold it up because it's pretty. It's in English only at this time. And it is about how do we, first of all, as coaches or consultants, master this art of transformation, which is shifting out of those default patterns into a life of our own creation. How do we do that? And then how do we help other people to do that? Help our clients to move from entrenched patterns into a life of possibility and what I call sourced energy.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. And I I wanted to ask you something before we start. I have three questions I want to ask you, but
Mhm.
I know this book is mainly for coaches and people that work in
Yeah.
transformation, but what about those people that want transformation?
So it teaches a structure called the anatomy of a transformation, which I know we're going to talk a little bit more about, which is helpful for your personal transformation as well. My client base happens to be coaches and consultants and healers, and so the stories and examples are written about those types of people, right? So if you're someone who can read that and apply it to your situation, the structure's definitely helpful. I have a thought there could be a shift the field for, in your life, in your work, in your, as a leader. The principles all apply, but the examples are all written for our industry.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And before we start, I want to ask the audience. I would like to know, when you have transformed yourself, like, have you done it alone or with the guidance and help of an expert? Because sometimes, and I know we're going to talk about this a bit, but sometimes when we change our lives is because there's a lot of pain or the motivation is really big. Either way, right? So,
Mhm.
in that
Yeah.
path, our audience, and I want to ask you guys, have you looked for guidance and people that not support, but really help you through that process? Or have you done it by yourself? You can tell us that. And while our audience tells us a little bit about that, Darla, I would like that you tell us a little bit more about your book. Tell us what it is about and how it can transform
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah. Well, first, I love your question about do you get support? Because I used to be, a do it yourself. I mean, it's very Western culture, do it yourself, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, if it's to be, it's up to me kind of person. And
Mhm.
just recently, I noticed I was talking with someone about anxiety, which I know is your specialty.
Mhm.
And, one of the things she said was, I should be able to fix this on my own. And then a couple days later, I was speaking with someone else who said that they have anxiety pretty often. And it was the same thing. I don't need help. I don't need support. Like, I should be able to do this on my own. So
Mhm.
I love that question because, for one thing, I haven't done anything on my own, and even when we think we have, it's like, no, really, we haven't. So
Exactly.
this is the book, Shift the Field, and it is, um, there's three parts to it. The first part introduces this idea of default energy versus sourced energy and
Mhm.
talks about the difference and how do you recognize the difference for yourself and in your clients. Default is coming from the past and trying to control the future. And so there's some, really specific nuances of how default energy shows up. Sourced energy, I mentioned earlier, it's created in the moment. It's alive, it's vibrant, it represents who you truly want to be in this world. Default is how you learned to cope with this world, right? Like the patterns that helped you survive. So the first part really talks about energy, what it is, how to identify it, and what it's like to live in a sourced energy. And I also make the case for if you are working with clients, even if you're not a coach or you don't think of yourself as transformational, consider that for your client to get the best from you, that focusing on transformation first will help them get the best from you and everything else that you do. Because if they're in default energy, now the entire time you're fighting against their default energy. You're trying to get them into a different result, but they're entrenched, and they're entrenched for a reason. So if you're really masterful at understanding where they are and helping move them to a different energy first, they'll be so much easier to work with. The second part of the book goes through the anatomy of a transformation, and this is a 3-stage process to think about where your client is in their own transformational journey. And Stephanie, I think it's worth pausing to say
Mhm.
transformation is creating a new awareness that totally permanently shifts how you show up and interact with life. That's how I think about transformation.
Yeah, yeah. And what I have experienced with you, uh, for those of you who don't know, Darla is my coach, so I have been working with her for the past year, and I completely get that what you said, and that's what's happening to me in the process that we're doing together. It's like your your default energy. Imagine like like a straight line, and your source energy is somewhere outside that line because you move in the positive and in the negative, in the good and the bad, like in the same line. So for me, it's been like a completely new situation that I didn't even imagine would be possible.
Yeah. So, like, for example, if someone, part of your identity is I am productive, right? Or because you're very productive, right? And then the opposite of that would be not productive, unproductive, lazy. Like there could be a lot of ways you might think of it. But if you're trying to be productive and you're afraid of not being productive, you're still trapped
Exactly.
in the same paradigm.
It's the same energy.
Yeah. Everything you're doing is being received through this filter of productive or not productive, and you're not free.
Exactly.
And this, we talk about this, the Old Tired Path is a tool that I use, and it's in the book in the middle section. So yeah, so that is teaching this. It's a process for you as a coach or consultant to know what your client is going through. So it doesn't feel random, like, oh, let me give you this insight. But it's rather, the insight is coming at the right time where the client can actually receive it. And then the third part of the book is how do you apply this? How do you design your business around this? And that includes what's your magic, which you alluded to at the beginning, like how do you intuitively work that is in best service of your client? And then it's what kind of offerings. So this again is in this service-based business. What kind of offerings? How do you structure your offerings so you really are helping your client to shift the field first?
Excellent. I love it. I love it. I started reading it. I'm starting now, and I love it. And yeah, it's really interesting how the work we've been doing, how you put it like in a very good stories inside the book, and what the process is about, and how you take people step by step to understand the process you teach. So it's really good. So and I want to ask the audience it. And I kind of like said it earlier, but I would like to know when you do a change in your life, whatever is happening, you do it because it hurts too much and you don't want to continue being in that situation, or it's because what you can get of changing is so good that the motivation makes you want to do it and change it and create whatever it's going on in your life. Like, what does it work for you most of the time? Sometimes we go for motivations, but there's one thing that normally happens the most. So what are you avoid pain, or you want to go to the price? And well, you answered that. Darla, I want to ask you if you can tell us a little bit more. What is anatomy of transformation, and why does it matter?
So the anatomy of a transformation is this 3-stage structure that supports you as the leader in knowing where your clients are. And just a little background on me. So I started out as a career coach when I left Procter & Gamble, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can be so much happier doing something else. I want everybody else to know this. And then all my clients quit their businesses or quit their jobs and started businesses. So I became a business coach, and I thought, well, I better really learn a lot about business. And then my clients would start coming to me. I was delivering a lot of my work in retreats, and my clients started coming and saying, I want to host retreats like you do. So then I put together this training about how to have a retreat-based business, and my first book, Retreat and Grow Rich, is based on that. And in figuring out how to teach people how to have a retreat-based business, I realized that like helping them have the goals of their retreat was really helpful. So this was birthed out of teaching retreat leaders how to think about their business and have a profitable retreat. And then I realized like it really does apply whether you're ever hosting a retreat or not. But the reason it originally felt so important to me is if you're hosting a retreat, and you know this as a retreat leader, you've got a group of people and they all want different things.
Yeah.
And they're all coming in different places with different issues. And
Correct.
So how do you as the leader keep a pulse on where the group is while knowing individuals are going to be in different places? Yeah. And so this helps you to know what stage in transformation someone is. So there's 3 main stages, and then the middle stage is broken down into 3. So there's really like five places they could be. It just simplifies keeping track of all the people in your program. But it also works if you're working with just one client. It's just easier with one client.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about it, Stephanie, is I have worked with a lot of different coaches. I'm a big advocate of always having support. I've really learned, I don't ever want to do anything alone. A lot, in coaching school, for example, you learn a structure for a session. I learned a structure for a session. And that can look like the client shows up and you say, what do you want to work on today? And they say, I want to work on this thing, right? And each week it could be a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's helpful because I believe all coaching is helpful because even just talking things through is super helpful, right? But it's not a container for transformation. As the client, I might not ever go deep because I might have some different surface issue week after week after week. Whereas this structure helps you to know where in the program they should be really digging deep and seeing that new truth that is the key to shifting the energy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I love that.
So how about, I'm curious because you have hosted retreat and you have a transformational program. How has it helped you to think about your work?
The way it has is it's mainly what you just said, how deep can the client go? And it has to do with how committed the client is to go deeper, because sometimes they're afraid and they're not ready. So, but that's when, I have been talking to them and see where they are at, as you were saying in Anatomy of Transformation, to see if they're really ready to go deeper and to dig, not on the surface, but really go deep. Because sometimes they say, yes, I want, but when you start going deeper, they're not ready. And they either they panic or they say, no, let's close this door. I'm still not ready.
Right. And so if you know that, you don't have to judge it and you don't have to say, oh my gosh, I'm failing. But you can say, okay, they're not ready. Let's go back to stage one, which is commitment. And let's explore what is their commitment really.
Exactly.
And help them make a powerful choice about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients where I've felt like it was success, where they said, okay, now I see, right? Here's my desire for something different, but here's actually what I'm getting out of staying stuck where I am. And what I'm getting out of it right now is more important to me than actually making this change. And if you can make that conscious choice, now you're not a victim to your circumstance. You're actually choosing, right? So it instantly raises your energy. And, for me personally, I don't think everybody needs to believe this, but for me personally, being willing to always see the truth, for me is the most important quality that I carry, because then I know I'll never be stuck. That even if it's scary, even if I don't want to see the truth, because it means I have to make changes that I don't want to make, I'm going to be willing to do it. And to me, that's real freedom. But not everybody is in that place. We're way showers, and not everybody is ready to step into the courage it takes to actually be truthful about everything in their life.
Yeah, no, and especially that people in general, we live with a lot of fear, and the fear of the unknown when we do a change is sometimes or many times greater than, and I wouldn't say the fear, I would say the story that we make up in our minds about what could happen if we change. And sometimes, and most of the time never happens what we think about, but we live more in the fear part of we don't want to change, or I don't want to change, or what if I lose all these things if I change?
Exactly. And in the book, I talk about that, the law of sacrifice. You do have to lose things to get things, because what you want, and I think of it energetically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we're talking about default and sourced energy. Default is a lower energy vibe, sourced is a higher energy vibe. So if one energy is here and one's here, vibration wise,
Mm-hmm.
right, they can't coexist in the same space because they're energetically different. And so to have this higher nature thing, you have to let go of the lower nature to go here. Like you can't, otherwise you're like, I had a client once who talked about it like putting one foot in two canoes.
Yeah, and in two places, like you're in the border of one country and at the border of the other country, but you're in neither way, in neither countries. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there is sacrifice involved, and it's important to know that and to recognize that and to know people are afraid of that. We don't want to let go. We want to have both of the things, and we have to be really committed to go through whatever we need to go through to get that outcome. And sometimes we're just not.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you talked about the fear of letting something go, and a lot of times it's people. It could be money, it could be prestige or status. Like you and I both know, leaving corporate was like, you're letting go of this built-in status.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's people, it's community. It's like, what will the people around me think if I become whatever, I was told as a kid I shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. Especially your family, especially the acceptance of your family that, okay, I'm going to be open about this situation, or I'm going to do this and my family is completely against it, then that's the difficult part. But I think when we're not ready to change, it's valid that we, as you were saying earlier, we get conscious about it and be conscious and clear the decision we're making, because staying in default energy is a decision as well, but it's better if we're conscious about it, because as well there will be consequences, good and bad, as if we move to another energy. And maybe not good and bad, that's not the word, but different, like different consequences for me. Excellent. Thank you. And yeah, I want to ask the audience, like, what are you thinking? If you have some questions about the book, of what Darla is saying, the life is going to be there, available in YouTube and in Facebook. If you know of somebody that can benefit from it, please share it. And I want to ask Darla a last question. But before that, I want to ask the audience, what has been the biggest challenge when you decided to change your life? We were talking about people and about situations, but for you, what was it? And while you answer that, Darla, could you tell me about the 6 types of magic that you talk about that in your book?
Yes. So, owning our magic, and I'll define what that means. That might be a big change you want to make in your life. That's scary to make. So, as I was writing this book, I was creating a retreat for Stephanie and a group of amazing human beings, and I had gotten this awareness to start talking about our intuition in a specific way. And one of the things that I've learned about my purpose here is that my purpose is to help people trust their inner knowing. Like if I look at my story and all the places where I didn't trust myself, I put my faith in experts, I decided someone else knew better for me than I knew for myself. It's like a long history of that. So I lived the perfect story to be an advocate for self-trust. And what I found is I personally had a struggle for several years trusting what I was receiving from source, right, where I was getting intuitively to do with my life and with my clients. And that was really moving energy with my hands. It was like I kept getting this message, use your hands, use your hands, use your hands. I knew from years of hosting retreats that I could pick up on other people's physical symptoms. Like it, in a big retreat setting, I might walk in the door and my stomach would start to hurt. And I knew I hadn't eaten anything, like it wasn't me. And I would check it out, and there was always someone in the room with the same symptom I had. And when we would talk about it and shift the energy, it would go away in me and in them.
Wow.
And so that was freaky. Like, nobody ever told me that this was something that could happen, let alone how do I work with it. And I look back in my childhood, I think I really shut it down because there was so much going on. I couldn't, I didn't want to know. Right. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, there are aspects of my intuition that I knew I was using back in corporate, that I also was using in my work, but I would doubt it. Mm-hmm. And so the way that would show up for me, Stephanie, was I would have this vision of something I wanted to do. I would put it out there, but I would be kind of doubting myself and like, is this going to work? I'd have people tell me like, you can't sell that, blah, 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 and I would hold back and it wouldn't work. And then a year later or 2 years later, like I've been in business 11 years now, so I have some data, I would come back to that same thing and it would be amazing. And so I was doubting myself. And so things were not as potent as they could be because I was in this doubt of my intuition that said, people want this. I know nobody else is talking about it. I know it's not popular. It's not, but people want this. And I just know, but I would doubt. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about my magics and the way that like I had a hard time trusting them and using them. And so for whatever reason with that retreat last July, I felt, okay, I'm going to see if I can make this into some kind of framework. And this is part of what my engineering brain does, right? Like this book is a framework. I like to take concepts that maybe are hard to grasp and put them into a framework so people can understand it. So I developed these 6 types of magic, which is really how does your intuition work? And in particular, the way that I write about it, it's related to in your client relationship, right? But it really is all over in life and with your marketing and with your spouse and all of it, but it's really written for your client relationship. And so there's 6 types. There's recognition magic, and that's the one I talked about, seeing patterns, putting the pieces together, knowing trends, like just knowing things. Sensation magic has to do with feeling things in your body, feeling what other people are feeling or what they're experiencing physically, being able to physically move energy, which that would be a whole other conversation. There's compassion magic, which is healing with your heart, with love and acceptance and full non-judgment, which is such a healing energy to be in. Yeah. There's vibration magic, which has to do with seeing or sensing the literal energetic vibration someone's in. And people with this one, they tend to see the vibration you're in and the vibration you could be. Right. Wow. And it's like, and so they see that mismatch of like, oh, your soul is this, but you're this. And like, and they are magical at shifting that energy. There is the expansion magician. And this is the person who has this just innate trust and faith in the universe as abundant and automatically sees how something can be made bigger. Or sees how your client is in lack or scarcity thinking, right? And how they can shift that. And then the last one is expression magic. And this has
expression magic.
It has to do with like just tuning in and speaking the words that need to be spoken, whether they, whether you're not consciously thinking about it, it's just coming through. And this can come through in words, but it could also come through in music, art, right? Movement, like it's being in the moment, this present moment with the exact expression that needs to come through. So those are the 6 types. Now, common questions, Stephanie, are, well, can I be more than one? Yes, I think most people resonate with more than one. The real question is, are you actually using it? Are you owning that it's a gift? Are you valuing it? Are you putting it out there? Or are you afraid? I was afraid to start using my hands. Yeah. it was like, people are going to think I'm cuckoo, you know. I can't do that. And even with the recognition magic, which is more kind of acceptable, right? Like, especially where I was in product development, in corporate, in innovation, like it was more acceptable to be there. But even so, I looked at, like, just as a woman, right? Like, we don't see women as the models of the trendsetters and the, like, how could I know something that maybe the market leader doesn't know or isn't doing? Like, how is that, right? So we doubt it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how has it shown up for you, your expression?
Well, it's very interesting because it's what you say. In my case, it's when I talk and when I'm really connected, I start, and I've been practicing that a lot lately. That whatever shows up when I'm talking to somebody, I tell them, like, I this just came up, and I have to tell you, and it makes completely sense to the person. And I know in the lives that I do, I say things that people kind of like, like these aha moments, or at least there's something in there that they grab and that they take it inside themselves. So I've been practicing a lot, and I've been noticing, like, when I'm connected, not when I'm here, because sometimes I still confuse if it's coming from here or it's actually coming from the source energy. But I've been looking that when it's completely sourced, it really changes people, and it really helps them to transform whatever they're in that moment living. So it's been very, very interesting, and I love it. I love it because I feel more, more, I wouldn't say more productive, but I feel that I'm more in the being of
Yeah.
with the person that I'm talking at that
And,
precise moment.
you know, with the expression, presence is key, right? It's like, I'm so in the present moment. I'm not judging. I'm not worrying about what you're thinking. I'm not trying to figure you out. I'm just present. And that's in common with compassion magic, is very similar,
Yeah.
where it's the presence of the heart. And presence is so healing. One of the reasons we get stuck in default energy is because something happens, we interpret it a certain way. Whoever is with us is in violation of our authentic self, right? They aren't agreeing with us. They think we're wrong, or they've dismissed whatever. Kids are seen and not heard, that whole thing. And so then we hide it, right? Like, oh, I shouldn't be that way. Let me never express that. Let me hide it. Let me stuff it down. And, I tend to see where people actually put it in their body, like, oh, it's going to get here. And then the presence heals it, right? When you can be present with it and let it come back out, and you just look at it like, oh, here it is. Let's be present with it. Let's process. Let's feel it. I know you're so big on feelings and actually naming them and feeling them, right? So let that presence with it heals it. Like, it doesn't have to get stuffed back there. Now we can own it. We can integrate it. We can either become that, or we can let it go, or we keep the parts that work for us.
Exactly.
So the expression helps to do that, right? To name the thing that needs to be named in the moment, because it's right there.
Yeah, and don't avoid it, because we sometimes it's not the avoidance part, but it's the ignorance that we don't know what we're really feeling or what we want to say, and we're kind of like stuck in a place, and that's when it's the moment to open up and just let it be.
Yes.
Oh.
I see, Carmen, I just went on your wall. Sometimes there's a mismatch between what I like or share with clients and what the market is demanding. How to shift the energy and find synergy and increase sales. Most likely, I'm not sure, right? So Carmen, just take what fits. Most likely it's the doubt, right? Like, if your clients are wanting it and they're needing it and you're seeing value in it, but then in the marketing, it seems like, well, I should hide that because nobody else is talking about it. People obviously don't want it. All my coaches tell me nobody's going to buy that.
Mm-hmm.
What I've found is when I actually name that and I do the thing I really want to do, the results are so much better than. And that doesn't mean, sometimes my soul might give it to me in a way that the words are kind of strange and I need to sit with it and get it into words that people can hear. Like there's sometimes a process for that. But trying to figure out what the market is demanding and say that
Mm-hmm.
is probably coming from some default energy, right? Of like, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to do it wrong. Someone else knows better, something like that. And it also puts us in our head, right? Let me figure out what the market is demanding, and then we're not as present. And our presence and our energetic alignment sells more than getting the words right. And I don't know if you've seen that, Stephanie, but I've had like really amazing words that every single person approved of and nothing good happened with it. And I've had words that were like, oh, when I look back, that doesn't make any sense. For years, I ran a retreat called the Inner Alignment Intensive. That's what I called it, because that's what it was doing, and that's what I called it. And it's a terrible name. It's like, anyone would say like that is not how to market something. But I filled it for years, and it filled my programs for years, even though no one wants their inners aligned, really. It's not marketing. But I knew what it was for, and I knew it would help people, and I was passionate about it, and it didn't matter that the name was stupid,
Mm-hmm. But it's when you are not, when you're source, because when you're in the default energy, you start doubting yourself. And that's when things don't go as you would like. Even though, as you were saying, the name is, the perfect marketing catchy name.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. I don't see questions. Do you see any other questions there?
I'm not sure the question, neuroscience and sales is trending a lot. What are your thoughts? I believe there's an ethic dilemma. I don't know if that means kind of, using psychological tricks to get people to buy things. I'm guessing that might be what she means.
Maybe, yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
yeah, I'm definitely more about presence and authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Neuroscience is intricately linked with transformation in that when we show up in the new energy, we form new neural pathways, and what previously felt unsafe or like death becomes a possibility for us because we're expanding, what's happening in our brain. Whether you call it neuroscience or transformation, like here's what I'll say. This came up on an interview yesterday. Is when we know we're stuck, right? We know we need to shift the field. We know we need to shift something in order to become more aligned with the result we want. Like we intuitively know that. A lot of training that I got was, sell them what they want, give them what they need. Like, don't actually talk about the transformation required. But we know we need that. And so we know there's something we can't see. Right? I go like this. It's like hidden from our view, something we can't see. So we know we need help to see it. What I think is an ethical issue is when someone as a practitioner is like, well, I can see what you can't, and kind of creates that dependency, like you need me in order to be okay. Mm-hmm. No, like if you don't have support, eventually you'll figure it out. Like the universe has your back. It is for you. Something's going to happen in your life to help you figure it out. It might be painful, but you will. So that's where I think there's a dilemma is because as a client, I know there's something I can't see. If you tell me you can see it, like then am I going to, is that your way of hooking me, whether you can actually see it or not, or if you're, in my best interest or not, there is some, yeah, we want to be really cognizant of having healthy client relationships. And I think the structure in the book helps with that tremendously.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for commitment up front and you're not, trying to sneak it in the back door.
Exactly. No, and that you just said that it's very important, and you mentioned it earlier about authenticity. And it's like moving from the energy of I need to make sales or I need to get clients to really I want to work with the people that are committed to change and are aligned with the way I can help them. Because not every coach or not every process is for everybody. Not every
Exactly.
person is for every coach. That's why, and that's the amazing thing about this, that we are so many coaches, healers, and therapists that there's room for everybody. And it's not about
Yeah.
making sales; it's about transformation and really helping the people that we are aligned with to help. Because it's not for everybody, and not everybody's for us.
Exactly. Yeah, and sometimes we just need information. Sometimes we need to learn a formula. Like, oh, I want to know how someone did whatever, and we might buy a course. I know you know about this to learn a certain formula because it resonates.
Yep.
But that's not the same as transformation.
That's information. And maybe we
Yeah.
have information overload currently
Yeah.
in the
Well, a
world.
lot of times we think getting another secret is going to be the answer as opposed to actually shifting our energy.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's easier. It's easier to think that this secret formula is going to be the answer because then I don't have to change myself, which means I don't have to give up that thing that I don't want to give up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, the more we can be empowered in our transformation, we know, oh, right now I just need some information about this. Or, I really get that, when it starts to feel sticky, I'm bumping up against my limits. This feels really familiar. I feel trapped. That's when we know we need something deeper.
Hmm. Exactly. So yeah, this has been amazing, Darla. I think everything that you shared with the audience is great. And I invite you guys to buy the book. It's really good. If you're not a person that works with transformation, it can help you with your own transformation because, as Darla mentioned earlier, there's a framework. I put in all the social media, the links to the book, and the contact links to Darla. Also, in the sourced website, you can do the test, the magic, find your magic test. That's a free quiz, so you can do it and find what's your magic about.
Yeah. And
So,
in the book, it tells you how to find the quiz. And also, Stephanie, do you have the link where they can get their launch gifts?
yes, I'm
Okay.
putting it there, so you can.
Okay, so there's some trainings that go with the book. Just this week, because we're doing a bestseller campaign, we're giving away. There's a sales training called Sold Out Transformational Programs. There's an audio about the 7 levels of energy to help you know what energy your client is in, and there's an experience library for anyone who hosts group experiences that are transformational. And then there's a discount to our upcoming event. So all of that is on Stephanie's page, special gifts for her audience.
Yeah, excellent. Some final words you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, I think I'll circle back to where you started, which is around support. And, this book teaches a supportive structure. It also teaches you, like, the whole point of the magic is you're supported by the universe. Like, this is not, you don't have to show up and be really smart. It's like spirit has your back. And, and so that's a supportive structure just in this book, but also have support to walk you through it. Get someone who is trained in this stuff, who can not just give you answers, but really hold the space for you to be in truth. And obviously, I recommend Stephanie because I know how amazing she is at that.
Thank
As well as, of course, my team and the folks that I've trained, that I endorse. So, and Stephanie is one of those people.
you. Thank you, Darla. And thank you, guys. And remember, for all this Spanish speaking audience, the membership Evolución Personal has launched, so you can join. And that's for me, sacred space where I'm helping you develop the life you want, to have a fulfilled and balanced life with the tools that are practical, simple, and powerful to implement right away. So if you want to be part of that, I'm going to leave you the link as well so you can join the membership. It's in Spanish, so for those of you who don't speak Spanish, I don't recommend it, but I hope to see you there. So I want to thank you, Darla. It's been amazing, and
Thank you.
congratulations for the book. It's great. I've been reading it. I haven't finished it, so I'll let you know. But it truly is for everyone that wants to, that are going through transformation and that help people transform their lives.
Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye, everybody.